In under 45 minutes, you're about to experience an epic soaring flight that took place over many hours. Much of the flight lined up with some lengthy cloud streets, which helped me gain or maintain height while cruising in a straight line. Right at the end, there's an embarrassing stuff up in the low light of the late afternoon and cloud shadows. Oh dear. Along with my other videos, this is yet another take on flying in the Condor 3 soaring simulator. I try to illustrate something different each and every time. I'm Tim Parrish, and I hope you enjoy checking this all out. This flight over Bohemia, a region of the Czech Republic, has 5 legs, indicated by blue lines on the map. Each one turns red as I talk about it. The first red one's up there already, near the top left of the map. Just before 9:30 in the morning, we take an aero tow and soon find quite good thermal lift. After crossing the start line and heading west, we have to fly with some caution over the flat terrain while the conditions strengthen. After rounding turn point 1, we head straight back again, passing a short distance north of the home airfield. As we encounter some hilly terrain and approach the second turn point, conditions are much stronger. Cloud base has lifted as well. After rounding turn point 2, we notice some long cloud streets that allow plenty of straight line flight in air that's rising more often than not. However, there is the occasional gap to cross. Sometimes, with cloud base very near and extending in all directions, it's necessary to hold our heading on the GPS to stay within the street. We pass over plenty of controlled airspace, but it only goes to 1,000 feet above ground, which is always several thousand feet below us. After rounding turn point 3, thermal conditions are still quite strong, and we continue to take advantage of the cloud streets, this time with a handy tailwind as well. After rounding turn point 4, we head for home, and, well, let's just say it doesn't all go to plan. Anyway, climb on board and let's start our pre-takeoff checks. Here we go. Controls, full and free movement. Harness, tight and secure. Air brakes, closed and locked. And we'll just check the flap position there, that's on -1, that's good. Outside we've got a little bit of a crosswind from the right, not much. And somewhere out there there's a Pawnee, I think I can just see it. Trim full forward. And looking at the instruments, we've got the computer running there, the flight computer in the middle of the panel, and the altimeter is set to about the right value, above mean sea level, so we're pretty well set to go. Just waiting for the Pawnee to pull over in front of us. And hopefully someone will take up our wingtip and hold us level while we take off. Here we go. Just balancing on the main wheel, waiting for the tug to lift off. There we go. Nice view of the Pawnee there. And there's a few cumulus clouds popping already, so that's a good sign. Should be able to get off to a decent start. Just following the tug around. Just a hint of turbulence in the air, it's not too bad at all. Just maintaining the high toe position here with the tug just above the horizon, or close to the horizon. See our undercarriage dangling there. Just in case we have a rope break. It's one less thing to think about. And the tug wants us gone by the looks of it, so we'll release. And there we go. And we're heading off towards the start sector, and just raising the undercarriage there, better late than never. And you can see the start sector in red in the middle of the flight computer there. And we'll need a bit of height first, and we can see some clouds ahead of us there, so we'll try those. See what we can find. We do need to start before we reach 4,600 though. This cloud here looks a little suspect, but looking just behind it and to the right there's something else that looks a little healthier, so we'll probably get up under that. Here comes the lift. Now at this point we've actually crossed the start line, so the start sector's gone green, but we're going to continue to climb. Having made the start, we don't have to stay under 4.6 anymore. And the lift seems to be getting a little stronger, which is good. Just make another small correction there. We'll try and make our way to the middle. And we've moved along a bit on track, and we've found some more lift, taking it anti-clockwise this time, and we're getting close to cloud base by the looks of it, so we'll soon have to speed up to cruise speed and exit out. Here we go, getting the nose down while we're still in lift. Just look at all that detail down there, it's a very nice landscape. Some quite good options for outlanding, hopefully we won't be anywhere near needing that. So what's happening here? Looks a little weak. We might have to let's see. Oh no, let's straighten up a bit, crank it back in. Might just have to give this away, look for something better. So you might have heard the clunk there, it's the flaps going up as we put some speed on and get out of there. This cloud looks a lot more promising, although our altitude is still pretty modest, so we're not pushing along too fast. We're being quite conservative at around 80 knots or 75 or so, with just -1 negative flap. Let's see what we can find here. Well, that's a bit better. And we've moved further along once more, and this time we're going anti-clockwise. I like to swap sides, it's just good for your skills, being able to thermal in both directions equally well. Getting close to the wispies there, so we'll have to straighten up pretty soon. Here we go, steepen it up, negative flat, put the nose down and punch through the sink at cruise speed. Some more wonderfully detailed residential areas down there. Large town. And the forest is pretty thick as well, lots of trees. Just having a bit of a feel around to see what's happening under this patch of cloud. If it doesn't come to much, we'll just push on. That's sounding better. Might use this after all. The wing's full of water, so we'll need a bit of flap at 60 knots, otherwise getting rather close to the stall. Hope this shot isn't making you dizzy. And you see the instruments up close here. Been in the air for about an hour and 7 minutes. Averaging 56.5 knots on task. Flying straight through that patch of lift because we're quite close to cloud base still at that point. Now we've moved further along the track, so we're just topping up our height again. Trying to find the middle, open out the turn as the variometer rises and crank it back in. Exactly when is a matter of experience. In a large thermal you might wait a couple of seconds, in a narrow one you just basically take a little bit of bank off and whack it straight back on again. And we're quite close to the turn point, just 5 k's away. And we need to change heading a little to go around it reasonably closely. Checking out to the right before we turn, and here we go. Just looking at that little red bug at the top of the flight computer there. It's approaching the centre, so we roll out as it approaches the centre, and now we're pointing at the next turn point. And back to cruise speed again, -2 flap. We're heading back now on the second leg, back in the general direction of the runway that we took off from, and conditions have strengthened as time's gone on. We've got quite a few cumulus dotting the sky, so that's good, makes things a little easier, a lot easier. Looks like we've been up for about an hour and 26 minutes, making about 86 knots on task. And down the bottom left there, it's 1 hour and 19. That's an estimate of how long it would take to get to the next turn point if we just kept cruising at this speed. And this lift looks pretty substantial. We'll take it as high as we can. Good to get to around 7 or 8 above mean sea level if we can. Getting some higher climbs now compared to when we first set off. And we're over slightly undulating terrain here, so with any outlanding you'd want to be sure you're not landing downhill. There's a few potential landing spots down there, not a lot, but we've got plenty of height, we're not concerned at this point. And with all those houses down there, it could be a good area to find some rising air as well. All the road surfaces and rooftops heat up. Just slowing down and pushing over into another patch of lift. It's definitely getting stronger compared to when we crossed the start line. And a little further along the course, we're thermaling once again, this time to the right. It's not a bad idea to alternate if there's no clear clue as to whether the lift's on your right or your left. Sometimes you get a bit of a lift under your wing and you realise that the lift is probably off to one particular side, and of course it's an advantage to turn that way so you don't end up flying in sync for a full turn, or nearly a full turn. Getting up some speed to get back into the cruise. Could have probably done that a little earlier. It's something I'm working on at the moment, is just trying to get up to speed before hitting sync. It's a good speed technique for improving your average speed. It takes a bit of practice to really make it second nature. Just searching for the strongest part of the thermal right here. If it doesn't really come good, we'll just keep going. Quite a variety of buildings down there. This is a good landscape. It's a paid one, so it's highly detailed. Quite close to cloud base right here, so no need to circle. We'll just gain a little height, get the speed up, and continue on to turn point 2. Those numbers on the right of the display there, the glide angle to the next turn point. We've got some work to do before we can within gliding range of it. We'd actually diverted a little off track to fly through that rising air just then, so we'll get back on track now. Some very large fields down there that would make it quite easy to land if we had to. However, we have a little stretch here of very heavily wooded terrain, so we need to keep some height in hand. This is not looking so great, so we might have to leave this lift unless it strengthens considerably. And we're giving up on that little patch of lift. We'll just continue on. (32:1) is what we're making. And 27:1 is the angle down to the turn point. Not that we intend landing at the turn point, of course. Nice little lens flare effect Condor 3's got. See what we can do here, just straighten up Line towards the core, bank it back in. That's looking better. Hold a nice steady angle of bank and airspeed. Actually we're a little fast. We need to cut the speed back to make the most of this thermal. And we've made it to the turn point, so here we go in a moment. We've had a check beforehand to make sure there's no aircraft in the vicinity, and then we'll down we go. And we've made it to the third leg. And we're hoping to make good use of the cloud streets along here, so that should result in quite a fast speed to the next turn point. Although to try and stay in touch with cloud base, I'll often fly a little conservatively so we don't sink too fast. Crossing a small gap at the moment. Here's some more lift coming up. Plenty more clouds stretching out ahead. So we're cruising at about 110 with -2 flap. And we'll see what this cloud delivers. Cloud base is at a maximum at this point, this time of the day, just after midday. And I'll just stop here and top up, get right up under cloud base. Now we're just chasing that cloud in front of us, just trying to stay in touch with that misty patch of grey there. See if we can fly through it straight while climbing. We've slowed down just a tad here, just trying to stay in touch with this cloud above us, directly above the canopy there. Just try and make the most of it. And I see a dark patch coming up further ahead. And yet another gap. We're getting quite close to the turn point. And having had a bit of a look around earlier, to make sure there's no other aircraft, we'll just toss it on the side and nip round the pole. and put the nose down to get up to cruise speed again. So we've done a 180 around the turn point, and we're heading back on the fourth leg, and we'll be looking to make use of those same cloud streets as we did before. One thing in our favour is that we've got a slight tailwind now, about 8 knots or so. On the other hand, the day is starting to weaken because it's getting a little later in the afternoon, so it might not be quite as quick as the last leg. But we've got a good cloud coming up here. We'll slow down in anticipation of some rising air. Quite a large gap here, but it does look like the cloud street does extend further up ahead. Just looking at those cloud shadows directly ahead of the nose there. Plenty of nice outlanding country, but we've got plenty of height. Just seeing if we can sneak up to cloud base in a straight line here. It's quite strong. Just trying to accelerate before we completely run out of lift there. Very clear line of cloud shadows down there, so we're on the right track. Just topping up our height. See if we can sneak right up to cloud base. So you can hear me raising the flaps there and putting the nose down, getting plenty of speed up while we've still got some lift. And we'll punch through the gap that's coming up. And there's no need for any concern about that airspace in red marked on the flight computer there, because it only extends to about 1,000 feet above ground, and we're many thousands of feet above that. See how strong this lift is. Looks like it's not too bad. We'll stick with it. Take it up to around 8,000 or so. Finding the centre. At 34 k's from the turn point. And it seems we've run into some pretty decent lift, even though time's getting on. We're actually not that far from the turn point. So shortly after exiting this climb, we'll be getting close to finishing. The last leg's not particularly long. And here we go. Just rounding the turn point and rolling out on track right here. And we'll have to get back up to cruise speed again. We're on leg 5 now, the last leg, so we're heading to the finish sector. And it shouldn't be long and we should have the height necessary to start final glide. Looks like there's a bit of a blue patch ahead of us, so we'll gain some height here. And as you can see, we're quite a bit to the left of track, but that's because we're just following the cloud activity, just trying to stay in touch with thermals for a bit longer. We've been in the air for 7 hours and 6 minutes. Pulling up into some lift. Some good clouds straight ahead. Lost a bit of height, but we should get a good climb and then we'll be on final glide. And we're just 54 k's from the finish. And we're back on track as well. And we've got ample height to get home at the moment, so we'll just cruise at about 100 knots. Just taking a closer look at that airspace there, but it's not a problem. It only goes to 1,000 feet above ground. And we're nearly there. There's the finish sector in red. So we're just about to cross that. And we can pile on a bit of speed here because we're actually a little bit too high. There's the airfield just to the left of the nose there. Time for our pre-landing checks. We'll just set the flaps to +1 and undercarriage down. Speed's still a bit quick, but we'll let that drop to around 60 knots while we've still got some water on board because we forgot to release that earlier. So there it goes. We're a few hundred feet too high here, so we'll have plenty of time to get rid of the water. And we hit a lot of lift after we crossed the finish line, so even now we've got a bit of brake on there to lose a bit more height. Just turning onto a rather high base leg, looking out there, trying to spot the runway. The area is a bit unfamiliar and there's cloud cover everywhere. It makes it a bit hard to distinguish a field from a runway, so we'll be turning again soon and having another look. And is it there? It's white. It's a pale field next to the runway, and well, we got that wrong. There's the runway off to the left, so we'll turn off our water. Most of it's gone, and we'll head for the threshold. I hope no one saw that. If they did, I might get a few sharp words from the chief flying instructor. So here we are, pull on plenty of brake to get down, and flare in a moment. There's the shadow of the sailplane, and we're down. So that's it. We've just completed our epic flight all around Bohemia. I hope you enjoyed that flight. Subscribe now so you don't miss out later. To keep things interesting, the next video will be in another part of the world, but I'm not saying where at this point. It'll be epic, of course.